Welcome, everybody. I am so happy for you to join us for the first ever Patriots Law Group Live, streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And this is Patriots Law Group Live, where we are talking about legal strategies for military divorce, in which we will be tuning in every other Wednesday to talk about this specific topic. And this is our kickoff episode in which we will be talking about a specific episode today. But this entire program has come about because we are dedicated to really working with our brave military families to help them navigate through some of the complexities and the challenges to get through unfortunate divorces that do happen. And you know what? Our law group cares enough about them to help navigate this. Now, not only is this new to our law group, but how many lawyers out there really offer free legal advice for you? Probably not too many. And so today I want to introduce our legal experts, our hosts out there who are the masterminds, if you want to call it, and really the dedicated lawyers who are the brains behind Patriots Law Group. So the first person I want to introduce to you is Mike Lyons. Mike, would you like to introduce yourself real quick and also give people who are tuning in and don't really know about the law firm a little bit of information about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. First, good afternoon, Maureen, and thank you for the wonderful introduction for both myself and the firm. So I'm Mike Lyons. I'm one of the founders, and along with my good friend Pat, the other guy in this video, we started Patriots Law Group around 2014 after serving active duty Air Force as reservists. Became good friends, first meeting in Yokota Air Base. Our wives were friends. And my background is I hail from Maryland. I was a Maryland attorney from the get-go and now practice still in Maryland. Started out construction litigation and now primarily focused in family law matters, specifically military family law matters. I guess I'll let Pat give his credence here in a minute.
Yes, well, welcome everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Patrick Hughes. I go by Pat. Like Mike said, we met each other back in, 2011 when we started JAG school together and then went to Yokota Air Base and were assigned there for over 2 years together. I'm originally from New York. I played sports, football, baseball, basketball in high school, football and baseball in college. I kind of see me being in the courtroom as my new arena now that I've hung up my cleats. And ever since my wife and I got off active duty after our last assignment at Andrews Air Force Base, we've been living in the DC area, and that's when really Patriots Law Group was formed back in 2017 when I was getting off active duty, and Mike convinced me that we were going to start this new venture, and here we are 7 years later.
Been a roller coaster ever since.
And the roller coaster never stops, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So Pat is going to introduce our topic. And for those of you out there, this is obviously live and we want you to engage. So if you have a question, I want you to put it in the chat. Pat and Mike are here to answer your questions. And also, send us, where you're coming from. If you're a lawyer, if you are, somebody in need of a service, let us know who's out there. All right. So today's topic, Pat, do you want to introduce our kickoff topic?
We've come up with a number of things that will build upon each other as each episode goes. But today we're planning on talking about 5 reasons why civilian lawyers should not handle your military divorce. And when we say civilian lawyers, just to be clear, we are civilian lawyers. Mike and I are civilian lawyers, but really what we mean by that are those who lack any military experience or live the military life. There's a very large distinction between those people who may not know a whole lot of things that all us military members have had to endure ourselves, and that helps differentiate those people between them and us. I mean, the biggest reason a lawyer, a military lawyer should be considered in your divorce matter is because we've lived the military life. We have worn your shoes. We know we've lived the military life in Japan. Well, our wives also had to quit their jobs every 2 to 3 years and find a new one because they had to move in PCS to meet each base. We know that you have to go find new doctors each time that you move, or reestablish schools for your children, and all those things that we've had to endure. We know that our clients are having to endure, and being able to wear those same shoes and to understand all those things that have happened in their lives and will happen in the future helps us anticipate what our clients might need when they're having to deal with family law issues or other matters that they're going to have to experience. We already know what those things are, and so we can help account for them in our advice to our clients. And I think it's become clear in our representation of our clients. They've made it known how much us being able to talk the talk and walk the walk like they have has, one, placed a great trust in us by them, and two, just made them feel so comfortable out from the get-go that they knew that they were in good hands.
Wonderful. That's a great start for the topic today. So,
Yeah.
So Mike, what would you like to add to this? Because I know there's a lot of nuances to this between choosing the civilian attorney and choosing, a military attorney.
Yeah, no, I think Pat hit the nail on the head. The biggest thing that our clients tell us and that we feel when we do our consults and really guide our clients through these really complex cases that are much more stressful. Doing a divorce when you're around your network of friends that you grew up with in a small community that you've always lived in is hard. Anybody will tell you that. Doing that completely detached from those communities, from your mom who might be, or your sibling who might be your pillar of strength, is really difficult. And I think the very first point that Pat made is so true. We kind of fill that void. Following on from there, I'd say the second biggest reason is we've based on our military service experience, we have specialized training on all of these military issues. There's that place I first met, in 2011, I think it was 9 weeks of training on military issues that touched many of our cases every day. So we know the military inside and out. We're able to take that knowledge and leverage it to our clients' advantage. I have a lot of cases. We represent people on both sides, civilian or military spouses. We sort of cover the gamut. And when I have cases where the other side is a military spouse and the civilian lawyer simply files a case waiting for an initial order on child support or alimony, I'm thinking, boy, what a lost opportunity. There's 2 or 3 months, maybe 4 or 5 months in some cases, before they get any monetary support. Well, what we know, our experience is the military regulations mandate military support. And if requested, and if you know what you're doing, you can get that support within 1 week of being retained, and we often do. But we even go further than that because we'll make an analysis depending upon which side we're on. If we have, the spouse or the military service member, we'll be very strategic on do we make the request or not by analyzing both the civilian remedies and the military remedies. And I think that's one of the biggest points that differentiate a military experienced or particularly a former JAG from those lawyers who have never served.
That is such a great point. And I have to tell you, we have somebody who has just tuned in, Adrian Avila. She says, good afternoon. Thank you for this free webinar. I am currently an intern in DC, an undergraduate of ROTC SMP cadet at Catholic University. I hope to pursue a career in JAG, V/RC Avila. So I just want to say welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Please, if you have some questions as we go along, I'm sure our experts here can go ahead and answer them. So welcome. I hope you like the information.
So V/R is very respectfully for those who don't know that. It seems like she's already on the way for the military. That's great. And she is going to Catholic University, which is my law school. So even better.
Yeah.
Your
well done.
Alma mater.
Yes,
All right. So I'm sorry for my ignorance. I am not former military. I'm learning along the way. So thank you very much for educating me on that. So, and thank you very much, Adrian, for being dedicated to our country. So, all right. So
well, Adrian,
let's get back on track.
Well, Adrian, I just wanted to say, if there's ever, you're looking for an ear and some advice, never hesitate to reach out.
In fact, we've had 3 law clerks of ours go on to be JAGs. So be happy to get an email, reach out to us on our website.
That's right.
We're always happy to share our knowledge, and who knows, maybe an opportunity opens up in the future.
And we even have a Catholic law clerk right now. So we're always here to help my alma mater.
Wonderful. And say thank you. All right. Let's get back on track. All right. So we have, 5 specific tips that you're talking about. I think we're at probably number 3.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
I think that's right. So one of the other reasons for why a military lawyer can be really advantageous to our clients is that you have a connection to the base and access to the base that we have, and we're able to engage with the unit of the service member if we need to under certain circumstances. There's just a number of resources that we know exist that most civilian lawyers won't know at all. There's a commander and a first sergeant, and these people are the ones running the service members unit for which they work, and those people have wide discretion in enforcing things. If someone is receiving a basic allowance for housing because they're being paid more due to the existence of their dependents, then those monies are supposed to be also given to the dependents for their benefit. And so if we're representing a non-military spouse and children on because the service member is denying those monies to their family, even though he or she is acquiring that money, then we can go to a commander and say, hey, this isn't happening the way it should. The regulation requires it. Can you help us out? We know the other resources available on base that might be able to assist family advocacy, other things that Military One Source is another source that provides resources, mental health, marital counseling, all of these things that could end up benefiting our clients in some way that civilian lawyers won't even know exist. And so being able to gain access to a base if we need to, or at least we may not know the people who are involved, and people are regularly moving from base to base. And so the chances of us actually knowing the person involved is low, but we know the positions that are involved, we know how to contact those positions, and we know the language that they speak, and that gains an immediate trust with those people if they're aware that we have an understanding of what's going on, and in some way we're able to help our clients, which helps the unit. Good order and discipline, these are all things that the unit has an interest in making sure is upheld, and that people have good morale, and lawyers are there to help counsel their clients and to try to improve their lives. And when we're able to work hand in hand potentially with the command to resolve an issue because we know how to access those resources and contact those people, that's something that a civilian lawyer would never even know how to engage or where to start.
Yeah. No, I think Pat brings up a really good point there. And one of the other things I think we bring to our clients' benefit is we've advised those commanders. So when a commander gets contacted, for instance, by us or by anybody, their first call is to go to the JAG and to say, okay, what do I have to do? And can you give me some advice on what I should do? So we've developed those guts to say, okay, here's what we know they have to do, and here's what we think they would do. And that tends to give us a really good ability to control situations in a much more finessed way.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Great advice. So, what I'm liking about this conversation is I'm all about clarity, because the more clear advice and best practices that you can share, because you're talking about people don't have legal experience. I mean, they are not attorneys who we're talking to for the most part out there. The more clear you are, the easier it is for them to understand. And I think you're being very, very clear for them to understand the language of what their next steps should be. Right. And I think this is important. And I know that when we spoke about the value that we wanted to bring out there about a very sensitive, about a very serious topic, the one thing we wanted to do was be able to reach people out there and know that we wanted to break this down into, very simple concepts so that they could really understand that although it's a complex legal subject, you know what? There's clarity in this and we can work you through it. And so I'm really liking how the two of you are breaking it down. So I am not a legal expert, and I'm really getting a good understanding of what this process could be like. And so I'm thanking you for the lesson I'm learning. And I know our guests out there who maybe are experiencing what they need, in a legal counsel can go ahead and do. So thank you very much. And this first episode, I think, is so important because people are just getting to know, you and how you would work with a client. And so I think this is important. And so thank you for, letting me know how this would all go and how clear it is. So the two of you.
And that's actually, one of whenever we have a consultation, it's not the first, the first thing we talk about is not money in any respect. We give them a full hour. We've asked them to provide any documentation that might help us understand their issue beforehand so that we can have an intelligent conversation and walk them through exactly what we think are the next steps for them to try to resolve whatever issue they're bringing to us. And so they're going to get a full, it's almost like getting legal assistance at a legal office in a way. That's what we used to do, and that's what we do for our clients now. We provide them our thoughts on the next steps after a lengthy discussion, an hour's worth of time for us to understand their issue and ask questions along the way, and then provide them the next course of action. And if that consultation was for them to just understand what they could do on their own, because it's an issue that they might be able to resolve on their own, then they're left armed with that information and they know that they can come back and find us if they need help further. But if their goal was to representation, we've at least given them an hour-long interview of what we think is our, belief on the next steps. And then they can take that and either say, I thought this interview went well and I want to hire Patriots Law Group, or they can say, well, thanks for your time and I'm going to look elsewhere. But at the very least, they will get a full amount of time to be able to make that decision on their own.
Yeah.
So I think we're at number 5, our final top tip on,
okay.
on how to, yeah.
I think we skipped over 4. So let me just jump into 4 because I think I know time's getting a little tight, but I'll just say, it piggybacks on what Pat said, but I think one of the other things that a lawyer experienced in the military can bring is the ability to communicate a military family's life to a civilian judge or families. And I see it again and again when there's a service member and a former military spouse, soon to be former, who's going to remain in Maryland where I practice. And the going in assumption is, boy, a child moving frequently is not going to have the optimal outcome that one who is staying here in Maryland long term. What we're able to do is to educate, because we've lived it. We know and have great friends who have now been in the military for 14, 15 years with their children moving around, or who have had full careers of 20 years, and they thrive, right? And they thrive even though there's deployments and PCSs and all these changes, separation from grandparents. And it's because the military has a whole host of resources, an exceptional family member program, mental health is readily available, youth centers, child, care facilities. And so we can come in and basically neutralize those biases by saying, Judge, you didn't know this. And it could be exactly what this child, exactly what this now separated family needs to get going and moving forward. So that was what I wanted to make sure got touched on, because I think that's critically important in these cases.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now I think we're ready for 5.
Now we're up to 5.
Yeah.
All right, I'm losing track. There's so much good information. All
No,
right,
it's all right. Yeah.
what's number 5? Who's taking that one?
Well, that's me. I think because this is a lot of what I do alongside of a few other attorneys in our firm, is we handle a lot of issues that pop up that extend beyond just the family law. We handle how that could be if all of a sudden there's some domestic abuse alleged or something like that. Now we've stepped into the criminal realm, or when it comes to the military, disciplinary actions that commanders might need to take because they have to instill good order and discipline, or because of some allegation of criminal misconduct. Now someone's security clearance is at risk because the adjudicative guidelines identify that there may be a security concern now that someone has a criminal allegation raised against them. And these are all the things that family law attorneys, typically civilian lawyers especially, that they don't have a practice area in their firm covering those things that regularly pop up from what can just be originally a family law issue and sparking into something much larger for the military member in particular. Security clearance is now at risk. And what is often misunderstood, I think, about all that too, is a family law attorney can be advising his or her client that, hey, maybe there's some advantage here to making an allegation against your service member spouse, because that might allow for a child custody determination to be slanting in your favor as you walk into the courtroom. But and we've had allegations like that we were able to knowingly show that they were false. They weren't true, but that was the tactic used by the other side to try to gain an advantage in the civilian court. But the ramifications of that are often misunderstood. We even have conversations with the opposing counsel and say, hey, you might not know, but if you're going to go down this path, that might end up leading to this person's discharge, and they're no longer going to get that retirement that your client thought she might have a piece of the pie to, because you have to get to 20 years to be able to retire. And if this person gets discharged before that happens, if, as, and when is when the retirement kicks in. And if it doesn't happen because that person doesn't get there, and now that other side has just lost out on something that they didn't even think that they were putting in jeopardy for their own client. And there's other examples like that, but we have the ability to both educate the judge, like Mike was talking, and informing the judge of what would be helpful for the judge to know that he or she may not. But we're also able to educate the opposing counsel on some of the things that they are contemplating doing during the course of the case, and the second and third order effects that could lead to, like putting someone's security clearance at risk and now they lose their job. And so did you want to get support from someone who now has no income? Because the court's not going to impose a high income burden upon that person in any way if they're not able to make money because they've lost their job because someone made an allegation against them. And so there's all of these second and third order effects that come about. We represent our clients in jointly the family law effort alongside of the security clearance effort. Or I just got done doing a discharge board hearing last week because someone was being potentially pursued for removal from service. So these are things.
And he won, by the way. We shouldn't leave that out.
But these are all things that it's not something where it's, hey, I can only help you on this one piece. It's we're here to help you however we can in that type of a scenario.
That's great.
5 minutes before we went live here, I got a call from another attorney who knows, because we train, we go to all the bar associations and train them on all of these issues to issue spot. And she's called me up with a GI Bill question. I'm sure asking, can it be, she's a family law attorney, can it be awarded to the former spouse? And, what's that look like? And so yeah, we have a lot of specialized expertise for all the sort of issues that are on the periphery of a normal family law case that you might be blind to if you didn't do 90% of your work being military like ours is, versus probably 5 to 10% like most firms who are doing family law. Only 5 to 10% of the time they see a family law a military family law case. So
yeah.
Great information. And in such a short period of time, I know we have like 3 minutes left, and I know you had some questions that are very, very typical with, this topic. And so, Mike, do you want to just pick maybe the one most frequently asked, with this topic, civilian attorney versus a military attorney? Which one do you feel like people typically ask you the most?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, maybe I'll just quickly go on to. So we often get asked the question because they hear Patriots Law Group, military family law, all of this, and they'll say, well, do you only represent the military member? So this is very specific to our firm. And the answer to that is no. We represent the spouses as well, for 2 reasons. Pat mentioned, we realize the whole family serves. The whole family sacrifices, and really, it's called service. If you've lived it, being in the military on active duty is in fact service. It's a service for the spouse. It's service for the children. Everybody's doing a lot with that. We represent both sides. In fact, I would say military spouses tend to be the ones that really feel at the end of their cases that we brought a lot to the fight, because they don't understand, they don't have the access rights that the service member has, to all the information, to signing things and doing all of that. And they don't have the knowledge that the service member has. But we fill that in for them. We have all of the knowledge. We are also service members, so that neutralizes that advantage. And so while very high ranking military spouses after very lengthy careers, we've had generals, high ranking colonels, 20, 30 years, and just feel like that whole advantage gets neutralized when we come into the case. And I think it does. The other thing that we sometimes get asked is, so, okay, well, like Pat said, our consults, like a military legal assistance appointment. Well, it is and it isn't. Some of the idea for Patriots Law Group was when we were doing those. And I was a Maryland lawyer had done 3.5 years of complex construction litigation. And I'm sitting there in Japan being asked about, or New Jersey, the 2 places I was on active duty at, being asked about how to get a divorce in these 2 states that I knew nothing about. But I definitely know the sharp corners in litigation because I did it. You're looking at every advantage. And I could simply say to them, I can tell you what's going on, but I don't feel like I'm doing you the best service unless I tell you need someone that does this court, knows those judges, practices this law, or it's kind of like telling you how to, go skydiving, but never having somebody, but just directing you to the plane and giving you a parachute and saying the best of luck to you. So with our little bit of time, I think we're out of it. Those would be the two questions we typically get.
Wonderful. Well, we have we're past time, but I think it's really important, Pat. Do you want to let everybody know how they can get a hold of Patriots Law Group if they want to reach out, have a consultation, and ask you more questions?
Sure, of course, yeah. Well, so obviously we have a website, www.patriotslawgroup.com. Our phone number is 301-952-9000. You're welcome to give either of those a shout to get our contact information or reach out. We have an intake specialist if you're looking to set up a consultation, or if you are an attorney even. We've helped other attorneys, consulted with them to help them along in their cases, and that's something that we've done in the past and we'll continue to do in the future. We're always available in those respects, so people are welcome to reach out.
Wonderful. And for everybody who tuned in today, we will be back in 2 weeks. We will also have these replays on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, LinkedIn. And you can always reach Mike and Pat through their LinkedIn pages. So you can direct message them too as well. And so we will be back in 2 weeks with a new topic. We want to thank everybody who has tuned in, as well as those of you who will be watching this replay. See you in 2 weeks with another topic. And if you have any questions, we would love to hear it. So I'm Maureen Edwards, and Mike and Pat will be back soon. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you soon.